This is another edition of the Heel to the Face podcast. I am Jared.
I'm Brandon.
And hopefully, for the last time, we have seen wrestling in front of visual screens and no crowd here in 2021 going into 2022. But unfortunately, you never know. As we head into 2022, our final show of the year, we give our best of and look forward to 3 big pay-per-views before the next time we record, as the Heel to the Face podcast starts right now.
Fans celebrate with me from Rome to Rochester.
Bad luck seems to be my middle name. They might as well tag me up with my buddy from Syracuse.
So this is another and final edition for 2021 of the Heel to the Face podcast. For Brandon, I am Jared. Make sure you're following the show at Heel to the Face. We have a lot to get to. We're going to recap what we liked this year in wrestling. And well, there's obviously things we didn't like. And it's crazy to think about how more than half of the year wrestling, at least WWE's perspective, was in front of the Thunderdome.
Oh, God,
and
I'm
hopefully
so glad that's
we
over.
never return there. I kind of tease because you know what? You never know. Unfortunately, you
true.
never know if we're going to be returning there. I don't know if you've paid attention to the rest of the world of sports, but the NHL, the AHL, many sports, college basketball, lots of stuff on hold right now.
The world's going mad. That's what it's doing.
So hopefully we do not return to the Thunderdome. Hopefully we can look forward to 2022. As bad as wrestling will be in the future, at least it'll be bad in front of crowds. As we are going to recap this whole year, we're going to look forward to day one. We're going to look forward to New Year's Evil, and we're going to even look forward a little bit to Wrestle Kingdom. Those 3 events all happening before we record again, as this is our final show before Christmas. And just like I think everyone does these Christmas / New Year's stuff all together.
Yeah, we just want to stop. We just want to finish out the year. Enjoy the holidays. Take a break. Yeah, take a little breather. Eat lots of food and
unlike the
stuff.
WWE guys, they're not taking breathers. That's the one
they
thing.
never do.
They're not allowed. I'm surprised they're not making them work on Christmas Day this year or on Christmas Eve. SmackDown was pre-taped. But don't worry, the 26th, there's 2 house shows scheduled, and the 27th, there's a Raw and a house show scheduled, and the 28th, and the 29th, and the 30th.
And never stop.
They gave them New Year's Eve off, but that's only because they're giving them New Year's Day for a pay-per-view. And yes, the pay-per-view on a Saturday, that means you think you got Sunday off? Nope, they'll be in Fayetteville, North Carolina the next night for a house show. So every night following Christmas, except for New Year's Eve, they'll be working. And I imagine because New Year's Eve, they'll be traveling from one location
to the next. And let's be
honest,
the whole 300 nights a year thing that's very valid in WWE. There's not a lot of breaks. That's a big grind for all those wrestlers, everybody, not just the wrestlers, but just all the personalities, the whole team. That's a lot of work. So. Hey, at least they got Christmas Eve, I guess, right?
You're making me look it up. As of right now, because we're talking about how the world's going crazy. As of right now, Wednesday, December the 29th, WWE still going to have a house show live event in Toronto. And then as of actually, I don't see the Laval / Montreal one here. That was to take place.
Yeah, that looks like that's sliding out of the picture, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like that one was slid out of the picture. So Montreal looks like, as of right now, off the schedule. So it looks like on the 30th, these guys actually might get the day off. It looks like they'll have the 30th and the 31st off.
And I will say, though, and I know we were talking about, I think last week, the Toronto live events actually sold pretty well, and I think we know why, because the fans are like, oh, this is the only time we might be able to see WWE for a while, so.
Yeah, the cheapest ticket right now with fees and everything is $56 Canadian. But yeah, there's
so
tickets.
What's that in American, give or take?
That would be about $45. It's about 70 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
So it's a rough estimate. It would not be 56. I'd probably say about 48, maybe 47.
Yeah, so it's under 50.
Yes, but that's a lot for a house show. That's a lot for the cheapest ticket for a house show. Because most house shows that I go to, if I go to them, it's because they're $10.
I noticed, look at the one side, too. We're just looking at Ticketmaster's website right now, and I see a lot of empties.
Well, these ones that are gray are probably because they're sold.
Yeah, there's a lot of blue.
Yeah.
Which looks like,
So there's seats to be had, but they're...
Okay, I looked at it wrong. It's like 8 tickets here, 7 tickets here. It's not a ton.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're sold pretty good. Just the way they have it shown on Ticketmaster, I know for the folks that can't see this, but go to Ticketmaster, you can see the holiday tour.
As you can see, for a house show, with the tickets, as I click on this, $172, that's pretty good right there. I've gone to house shows that don't even have the whole stadium with what we're looking at right now, just sold on the floor.
Well, you know why? Again, it's because of the world we're in right now, and Canada is things are a little tighter in Canada these days. So this is their chance for fans to get in, catch a show before whenever they go back to Canada. Who knows at this point?
Well, this is their one trip so far, and it looks like, as of right now, it's only Toronto.
Yep.
Montreal looks like, or / Laval, because it was going to be in Laval, which is a suburb of Montreal.
Yeah, it looks like it's off the table.
Looks like it's off the table for now, so they'll get an extra night off, but don't worry,
Good for them,
they'll be staying busy.
They always do. WWE doesn't. There's not very many days off. One or 2 days off.
Yeah, a couple years ago, they made him work on Christmas night for a Monday Night Raw. Remember that one?
Yep.
That was good for me. It gave me live Monday Night Raw wrestling to watch on Christmas night.
But it's bad for the talent because they want to be home with their families.
It was good / bad for me. I remember when there was Christmas on Christmas Eve or Christmas night, Monday Night Raw, because it was live and I wanted to watch it. But also, it's not that easy to get to TV and to get, when you're trying to entertain and you're like, we've talked about this. Wrestling isn't the NFL or something.
No, not everybody in the household wants to watch.
Yeah, it's not the Grinch or National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
It's not a staple,
Yeah. So getting me to turn that on Christmas night was a little bit difficult, especially when you got relatives around who were like, "Oops, somebody accidentally flipped down the wrong channel here," and they're like, "Nope, this was done intentionally." And then they start making the comments, and
I get those. I've gotten those looks. I mean, luckily, I got some family members like my father. He likes wrestling. He's still into it. So it's so like in my dad's house, my parents' house, my mom kind of runs the ship, but like she's not a big TV person. So my dad, in that case, he kind of like if I want to watch wrestling, I say, "Hey, Dad, we're gonna watch wrestling, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's good." So we get to watch it.
So this year, Christmas Eve, a taped version of SmackDown if you want to annoy your friends and relatives on Christmas Eve.
That sounds so exciting.
With a taped episode of SmackDown. Good for the crowd in Chicago last week. They got 2 episodes of SmackDown for the price of 1. That's pretty good, obviously. And the fact that I think we have a championship match on the line, a women's championship match on the line. Becky and Liv Morgan, if I'm not mistaken. If that's not happening at day 1. It's happening at day 1, so we have a championship match happening on SmackDown. I don't necessarily want to click it because it's going to give it away.
Yeah, we don't want to know. I don't want to see anything yet. Nope.
Yes,
I don't want to see any spoilers. I'll stay off of any clickbait on the socials. I'm good because I want to see it.
Oh, you're gonna make it's Toni Storm versus Charlotte Flair because that's the championship match right there.
So,
we're getting on SmackDown on Christmas Eve.
Let's be honest. I don't even have to watch it now. Because we know Tony's not winning. Tony's time is not coming up yet.
Do you remember last year's I will say this much. Give it up for WWE. We talked about a couple years ago live. Last year's pre-taped, but first ever, I think, in the Thunderdome, Christmas night SmackDown was actually very good. It was the night Kofi Kingston won the IC belt.
I do remember
It kicked
that.
things off. I think it was Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, who was still the champion then, still is today. Crazy to think. It's been that long. He's still been the champion for a year and a half, essentially. But he was defending the belt against Kevin Owens in a cage match.
Yep.
And then the night finished off with Big E winning the belt. I thought that was a great smack. That was probably one of my favorite SmackDown / Raws in the Thunderdome era.
There wasn't many highlights, let's be honest. And
Yes.
speaking of some notes too from SmackDown, man, how crazy is that? Paul Heyman got fired by Roman, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, so
I'm not surprised.
and it's crazy to think because either way, tomorrow night's SmackDown on Christmas Eve, which is already pre-taped, there will not be a SmackDown on New Year's Eve. That'll be like a best of show. So not taping anything for that. So we already have
That's
essentially
so interesting.
whatever happens tomorrow on SmackDown is the go-home show for day 1. That is it. And essentially, it's already been taped. So if you were in Chicago, you already are all caught up. It's like 1992 again, where you go to like a Superstars taping and you're all caught up for like WrestleMania, which is a month away because they did all the tapings
They did
in a
everything
big bundle.
in one
For
shot.
us who aren't going to get spoiled, we're going to watch a little bit tomorrow night. But either way, come next week, there won't be any go-home shows SmackDown-wise for day 1.
Nice.
We'll be all ready to go. I don't see Toni Storm winning the belt either. But
No, it's not Tony's time yet. It really isn't. I do see her winning the championship at some point, but right now it's Charlotte, it's Becky, the usual suspects, Bianca, Sasha. Tony's working her way up. I think she and Liv Morgan are at the same level at this point. I think Liv might have a slight edge because I think Liv's a little bit more over at this point. So I do think again they're future champions.
some early calls for potential Royal Rumble winners, which is a month away now.
Yeah, what names have you been hearing?
I haven't been hearing anything, but just the Toni Storms of the world seem like they could fit into that narrative.
I mean, Toni Storm's definitely one. Liv Morgan's definitely one if she doesn't win the championship between now and then. I mean, on the men's side, I mean, there's a lot of choices. I mean, there's a few dark horses in there. I mean, you could see somebody like, I don't know, like a Riddle, the usual suspect, Randy Orton.
I don't know about a Riddle yet. I don't really know about a Riddle ever, but
whoa, hey, Riddle's money.
I think Riddle's money. Riddle and Orton would be money at WrestleMania. But I don't see Riddle winning the Rumble. Essentially,
Riddle is going to get it. He's going to get the Universal or the WWE.
I think if Riddle did win the Royal Rumble for sure, it would be going against the Big E champion. It would not be the Roman Reigns. That's for the Brock, Drew McIntyre.
That's and whenever Roman Reigns does, whenever the payoff is on that when he loses the title,
which could be before we record our next show.
Could be interesting. I mean, we'll see what happens. I still think Roman's going to go into. I think he's walking into WrestleMania as champion. However, walking out might be a different story.
So we're going to talk a little bit about what's happened in wrestling before we get to some of our best of the year picks. We'll start. We already started a little bit with SmackDown, but what about Kyle O'Reilly being all elite? Very big surprise. Not surprised that he went to AEW, but surprised in that he did it so quickly, which we were texting back and forth about this and talking about the 90-day clauses that all these other people seem to have. Now,
NXT has a 30.
Yeah, which
here's the thing. NXT,
it's even been less than that.
So from what my understanding is, according to some stuff I was able to catch up on and read online, which you never know, it's the internet. You never know what you're actually reading, but His contract officially expired, so at that point there wasn't a non-compete, so he was able to go right away.
So was his contract expired when he was fighting with the tag team championships at War Games?
My understanding is he did the same thing as Gargano. I think there was a small week or two extension to, do the final part where he kind of hands the baton over to like Von Wagner at that point, and then that's it. So it was definitely. It was definitely the end of his contract, and there was just no non-compete because he showed up, and I got to eat crow a little bit because I was calling it. Okay, I thought O'Reilly and Gargano were both going to be back in WWE. Hey, we're wrong every once in a while. I think I was more hopeful, but now the Undisputed Era is now in AEW. So,
do you think that WWE stops creating NXT/WWE calendars from now on? Because that's also a very funny joke because. Never in a year before, I mean, there's probably been a year in the past that's had one incidence of this, but never in a year before have there been so many incidents of, like, for example, somebody noted that the NXT calendar for the year that somebody bought last year, the superstars for December were Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, which is kind of funny. Obviously, neither of them are in NXT anymore.
Now they're not. Yeah, now they're the competition. So it's interesting how that works. I did also see where they were building up to the Adam Cole's last feud in NXT, where it was Cole and O'Reilly, and when they're doing the signing, all the security people are all the NXT 2.0 guys. Like you see his future tag team partner Kyle O'Reilly's in Von Wagner on the right hand side of your screen. I think I forget the other there's the Creed brothers I think were in there, and then there was what's the guy from. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. He's a 2CW guy he's kind of got that new personality.
Oh, Joe Gacy.
His muscle, which is like the Parker Bordeaux.
Yeah, Parker Bordeaux, Harland, who will be going in the next episode of NXT. I don't know if they're taping that right after the holidays, how they're doing that, but he's going against Brian Kendrick. Who's now in the back, but he had that incident a couple weeks ago on NXT where he attacked him. So Brian Kendrick getting back in the ring.
And Brian Kendrick's one of the best workers in the world. He's one of the most underrated. I think he's one of the most underrated in-ring competitors in the world. He doesn't get enough credit. He's trained so many people over the years. He's not only a hell of a trainer, but he's like just seeing how his mind works, like how he's done promos and just the way he carries himself. He's a very unique guy, and I think uniqueness should go a lot further. But in his case, he hasn't gotten his due, in my opinion, which I saw more out of Kendrick than maybe some others did. But I think he's one of the better technicians that we've ever had in the business, to be honest with you.
This past week, we saw a resurgence of a couple good things coming our way, and that's with AJ Styles. AJ Styles showed up on NXT. got involved with Grayson Waller. Looks like they're going to have a match. I don't think this upcoming week, but they might have a match at New Year's Evil.
So what's the point of this? Are we just trying to give Grayson Waller the AJ Styles rub? Is that what we're doing now?
Are we trying to bring in AJ Styles to give NXT some more credibility? Because, I mean, they did this in the past. If you remember, it wasn't long ago. We forget that NXT was this third brand. NXT, remember, WrestleMania, Rhea Ripley Charlotte Flair won the Royal Rumble in front of 50,000 people and then picked Rhea Ripley, the NXT champion at that time, to be the one that she went up against at WrestleMania.
I just find
hard to believe now because, you know what I mean? Like, Tommaso Ciampa is not, on Monday Night Raw getting involved with Bobby Lashley.
Well, here's the other thing, too. Speaking of Charlotte there, Rhea Ripley, especially Rhea Ripley, it's weird because I feel like Rhea Ripley is kind of an afterthought, in my opinion. I don't feel like she's getting as much of a push. Like she's
not lately, no.
No, the storyline, just the segment she's in, I feel like she's kind of floundering at this point. So maybe they got to refresh that character a little bit.
Maybe a Royal Rumble pick. Yeah, you never know.
Well, what would have to happen is she'd have to turn heel. Because right now she's a face.
Yes, but I mean,
she would have to turn heel on what's her face there, Nikki ASH.
Yeah, but
I'd have to be heel turn.
I don't think that would be that difficult when you're not the tag team champions anymore. Or
yeah, but you're still friendly.
Because AJ Styles, as we saw, that payoff is going to happen real quick. We thought AJ Styles and Omos. I mean, everyone knows every tag team breaks up. We were just talking about Randy Orton and Riddle. We're talking now about AJ Styles and Omos, but they're not going to take any time for this. They're moving right on real quick. We're getting AJ Styles and Omos next week on Raw.
Yeah, I would have liked to seen the blow off at day one. That's just me.
I mean, we might get a rematch at day one, depending on what happens. But either way, the idea for this is to be done and over with.
You know what? Now that you mention that too, I think what happens, I think you're going to see it at day one. But just the kind of wheels turning in my head as we're talking about it. What if they have AJ and Omos, have the match on Raw this coming week, and then like the way the match ends, there's no decision really. Essentially, like maybe AJ gets disqualified on purpose or something along those lines, and Omos is ticked off and he wants a rematch. And he wants it at day one.
Yeah, I mean, either way,
something like that.
The blow off for AJ and Omos is not going to be something that's going to lead us down to WrestleMania.
No.
They're expecting this thing to be done by the middle of January, and then Omos moving on to bigger and better things. I mean, and AJ potentially too. Obviously, he's got the thing going on with Grayson Waller in NXT. That's probably going to happen.
Yeah, I don't. Why
New Year's Evil?
Why Grayson Waller of all people though? Like I mean,
he called him out, but yeah,
what's Grayson Waller have over some of the other competitors?
Well,
WWE must think highly of Grayson Waller if they're going to give him the AJ Styles treatment, so to speak.
Yeah, they must just feel that these guys can put on. These guys are gel together.
I will tell you,
have contrasting styles.
NXT 2.0. They are making a star right now in Braun Breaker. That dude is a bona fide star. It's only. I hate to say this, but I think he's in WWE. I think he's on Raw or SmackDown very, very soon. I don't see him in NXT
these guys, I hope
long-term.
none of them are on Raw or SmackDown anytime soon, because as we started this whole conversation with, Kyle O'Reilly got a 30-day out clause, and boy, he's probably happy he never was on Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, in his case, there was no non-compete.
I don't know any of these guys in NXT that ended up in AEW that ever said, I wish I made it to Raw and SmackDown. I think that they're all pretty happy that they ended in NXT and got to kind of end on their own terms.
Or Malachi Black, he
Malachi Black wishes he stayed in NXT.
Well, no. The thing is, he still had his 30 days versus the 90. They didn't re-up his deal, so like somebody in the back screwed up. So
either way, like
2 months early.
Most of these guys, the Karrion Crosses of the world.
Yeah, that to me, that one boggled my mind. You gave him the NXT championship. He ran roughshod over the whole NXT roster. You bring him up to the main roster, and then you change his gimmick. There's no Scarlet. Like how they managed that was ridiculous.
Another Keith Lee.
That was Keith Lee. They did the Bearcat thing for like a week, and then bye, see you later. Like. Yeah, some of that stuff shakes my head, and what are you doing? Like, you put all this work in, you create this new thing like Bearcat, and then 1 week, we're gonna pack your bags, see you later. It's WWE. I don't get what they're doing right now. Some of it's a little wacky, but with the good, with a lot of bad, there is some good, I would say, and they're really good right now. Is anything that Roman Reigns does. RK Bro is good. There are some good things. But a lot of it is, honestly, it's not really good right now.
So day one pay-per-view, it's happening on January 1st, according to our friend Nick Khan. who knows everything that's best for WWE. He's hoping to make this an annual tradition, hopefully trying to make this a big pay-per-view event. I mean, that's why we have a lot of the names that we do.
Does he not know football? Like, like the New Year's 6 is going to play that day. Like, to me, I would say it's poor. That's poor booking in my book. I think that the whole thing is just poor. Why would you book something like that, like a major pay-per-view to start the year on the same day as one of the biggest the college football playoff? Like, that, to me, that's the biggest Saturday of the year for college football, aside from the actual national championship. Some people would argue that's probably the best football of the year, but you're going to put a pay-per-view on against it. I mean, I hope it works for Nick Khan, but I'll be honest with you. I think he's taking
place in Atlanta, Georgia. Down in Atlanta, Georgia, they don't really watch much college football in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, they do.
What, Atlanta, Georgia? You mean what? The Georgia Bulldogs? What are they, like, not even ranked?
Whoa! I was gonna say, I hope you're tongue in cheek on that one. I mean, they're in the college football playoff, for Pete's sakes. And don't talk bad about the Dogs, because AJ Styles will come give you a phenomenal forum. He's a big Dogs fan.
So he has to. I guess he'll have to miss them playing, because he'll probably be a part of this pay-per-view.
Or knowing AJ Styles being a big Dogs fan that he is, he'll probably have the TV or some sort of device on so he can watch it, like, in between.
I will say that as not really a huge, I mean, I'm not the biggest football fan, but I will say outside of the college football playoff, you got to admit that bowl games are probably the most meaningless, silly sports thing. We still have.
Regardless of the silliness, as a football fan, I just enjoy watching as much football as possible. So yes, I agree. Like, it's like the Idaho Potato Bowl. I get it. Like,
it's a back-ended preseason. It's weird because I feel like other sports. And let's say college basketball, for example. Thing. College basketball, you have a lot of these invitational tournaments.
Yeah.
You have them early in the season, and then you don't have them at the end of the season. This is like the reverse of that.
It's true. Yeah. It's to a point, that's true. I mean, I know you're not a big football guy, so, like, for me, I know some of the bowl names are ridiculous. I think
it's not just that, but again, if you look at it from the perspective of the players and the coaches, if this was really such a big deal, then why would they all quit right before? How many Super Bowl coaches or how many coaches that are on their way to or football players that are on their way to the Super Bowl go, now that I've won the NFC Championship and clinched my spot in the Super Bowl as a New England Patriot, I'm going to start taking talks from the Miami Dolphins, and they're going to sign me and make sure I'm ready next year for the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to quit now.
I see where you're going. So, first round picks are like, I'm not going to play.
Exactly.
But here's the thing.
Or coaches who are literally not going to coach for their new team until next year can't wait until they play one more game. Or they have to quit before one more game.
Well, the LSU coach, too. The LSU coach that was now the former coach, Ed Orgeron, he's like, I'm not going to coach the bowl game. He just said he got fired. So he's like, why would I come coach?
Yeah.
He's like, they're firing him at the end of the year. He's like, nah, I'm good. I mean,
it doesn't make much. Again, that's, in the Pro Bowl, for example, none of those players that are in the Super Bowl play in the Pro Bowl because that's a meaningless game. They want to play in the Super Bowl. In college football, like I said, your goal is to make this bowl game, and then when you make it, you quit on the team. I don't even understand,
so
whether you're the coach or the player.
The way you look at it, too, just real quick on that. So if you're a really top-level talent, you're protecting yourself from injury. That's really what it is.
Why don't you protect yourself from injury the first 11 weeks of the season?
Because you're trying to build your draft stock. If someone tells you you're going to be a first-round pick, you don't need to do anything else the rest of the year to get your draft spot, you don't play anymore. But I
bet you if you're playing for the national championship, you are.
Some guys haven't. I've seen it. Some guys haven't. It's just they don't want to take the risk, or they're still banged up and they're like, I'm not going to risk it any further. I mean, a lot of talent. What happens is if you're a fringe NFL player, you take every game, every snap you can get to get a chance to play at the next level. If you're a guy that's already going to make the league, you don't need to risk injury to sit it out.
So yes, shows that it's kind of meaningless.
It's not meaningless. It's meaningless to the guys that are going to be probably first-round picks. For everybody else, it's not meaningless because it gives you it's actual snaps, actual tape. So for most competitors, it is meaningful. For some of the elites, they're not doing it.
Or elite coaches.
True. That is also
I don't know
true.
why, again, you're not going to risk injury coaching one more game.
No, I think a lot of it, I don't that part of it with coaching is like what's
Could you imagine in college basketball you clinch a spot in the NCAA tournament and then you shake all your players' hands and you're like, all right, assistant coach, you take him to the tournament.
Yeah, you're running the show.
You wouldn't ever
the coaching stuff's interesting. I think it's just the way maybe the contracts are done, like, oh hey, we need you to start now. That's what I would assume. Like maybe the NFL team says, hey, I want you to come in and I want you to come start now. We need to get building up for the next season. That's what I would think, but I could be wrong.
So on New Year's Day,
back to the pay-per-view here.
New Year's Day, day one pay-per-view. Nick Khan wants to make this an annual big thing. He says the reason we took out the December pay-per-view is because it was essentially a bad moneymaker. We'll see if this one's better. Obviously,
it's not going to be a good moneymaker. Come on.
This one's got a pretty decent card. I guess that's why they're throwing a lot of the big names at it. But, you know, I guess I just don't like the idea in general. I know it's the first and Royal Rumble's not till the 29th, but I like the idea of the Royal Rumble, January, all by itself. We don't need to share the month even by a day. You know, I would have been fine if we just don't have a pay-per-view from Survivor Series to. Why can't you do the NXT style? Why can't we have like a little special like December 18th?
So are they really putting Drew McIntyre on the kickoff? Because there's no way Madcap Moss is going to be on the main show, is he?
I mean, this would be a great spot for Madcap Moss. I imagine you're not putting Drew McIntyre on the kickoff show, so I guess you're putting Madcap Moss on the main show.
That's an awkward one. The rest of the matches I do like. I think the whole show minus that match with Drew and Madcap, I just don't have any interest in it, to be honest. Nothing against the competitors. It's just not something I'm drawn in. The rest of them, they look good. I hope
you think Becky Lynch is leaving with the belt?
I mean, they got to have some sort of good moment for day one. So if there's going to be a really cool moment at day one, I mean, why not put it on Liv?
So you're thinking that Roman Reigns wins the belt?
Yeah, I think Roman Reigns hangs on. I honestly, I could see Big E holding on too. As much as I really do want to see. I at this point, with the way things are going, the way they're building it, I want to see Bobby Lashley.
I'm thinking Brock wins the belt. And obviously this is going to set up for, you know, down the line. We're not done with Roman Reigns and Brock, but you can't have Brock keep losing clean to Roman Reigns.
No, it's not a good look. I get it, but at the same time, Roman Reigns is on fire. Why not have the big payoff at WrestleMania?
Well, because the big payoff is going to be at day one. I mean, essentially, we can't just keep having them lose and then essentially pushing it further down the line.
Here's what they can do. They can still have Brock Lesnar lose, but not lose clean. I mean, you could still have the Usos come out and.
I mean, we've already done this before.
But
that's the issue.
That's what WWE does, though.
It's not like we haven't done that exact thing.
It's predictable booking by WWE. We know that. Like, do we want to see that? No. Do we think it's going to happen?
Which things were like, and the reason I was saying about Nick Khan making this a big event is that with this match, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, these are going to be build-ups to WrestleMania, normally that you're reserving for the Royal Rumble. Apparently, what Nick Khan has been known to be saying about this day one pay-per-view and or the Royal Rumble being not too far away is that, you know, we're not going to necessarily have some of these rematches happening at the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble match, even though it's going to be in a dome and, you know, it's going to be a big spectacle and it's the Royal Rumble, they're thinking that in order to get this pay-per-view heightened up and the Royal Rumble kind of they already got your money because they know you love the Royal Rumble, to have lesser singles matches, meaning we're not going to maybe have the Roman Reigns or the championships on the line at this year's Royal Rumble, which would suck. Because that's what makes the Royal Rumble great, because you have normally good championship matches. You normally have some, not maybe WrestleMania, but still not the in-your-house guys. You have like the Brock Lesnar's. I remember it was Brock versus Finn one year, a couple years ago, and, you know, other, you know, big champions. I remember obviously Triple H, Cactus Jack, going back to the Royal Rumble 2000. Yep. You know, so you have some of the bigger names, but then you also have the Royal Rumble. That's why it's my favorite pay-per-view of the year. It's like the matches are a little bit less than WrestleMania, the singles matches, but then you add the Royal Rumble, and it's a perfect mix.
So let's see, just kind of going through the card. So just to tally it up, so you're taking Brock, I'm taking Roman. Drew, Madcap, I'll go Drew. Who are you taking, Becky or Liv? I'm taking Liv.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to take Becky. You know, I think Liv's getting a great push right now, but again, I don't see her leaving with the belt.
I think it's time. I mean, you can't, like, you like the way you made that point with Brock Lesnar. I'm going to use that point for Liv.
All right.
So she hasn't had a clean loss. So I think she pulls one over on Becky and I think she's going to pull one over on Becky, maybe do kind of a similar rope grab and win the match. I think she's going to pull one on Becky.
And we all think Edge is beating The Miz, right?
I think, that's a good question. I think if Edge wins clean. I think if Miz wins dirty. The thing that I can see happening, and this is me just fantasy booking it, I see Edge winning, but I see Miz looking like he's going to win. And then Maurice does something, distracts him, and then it looks like Edge is going to lose the match. And then Edge, kicks out of it, and then there's, Maurice is still involved, and then Beth Phoenix comes down, the real life wife of Adam Copeland, Edge, and comes over and takes out Maurice, and then maybe that's where the match kind of goes, and Edge wins. Something along those lines is what I see. I mean, the Usos and let's see,
the New Day.
New Day. I'll go with the Usos. The Usos they're just money. I gotta keep rolling with them, and then I want to see Bobby Lashley. That's who I want to see.
I mean, I'm perfectly, because I think very interesting. Obviously, I don't think Kevin Owens is going to leave with the belt, but whoever wins this match could be interesting regardless. However they go with it. Maybe it's a short transitional run for Kevin Owens. Maybe he wins the belt and then gets squashed by Bobby Lashley at Royal Rumble. And then Bobby Lashley, because that's, again, how they could treat this as well. They could treat this as like a transition of like we saw last year, the big feel-good moment of The Miz holding the belt for all of 8 days.
And then, bye.
Yes. You forget, because Bobby Lashley was champion for such a long period of time, and Roman Reigns has obviously been champion. You forget about and Drew McIntyre before that. You forget they snuck The Miz in there for 8 days just to get it off, just to get it over to Bobby Lashley.
To me,
easier.
just the way WWE's building it up, it just feels like a Bobby Lashley win.
So setting, you could have a Kevin Owens win, because obviously with multi-men, there's a way for, the Big E's and the Bobby Lashley of the world not to get pinned. And Kevin Owens wins.
Yeah,
makes it the Rumble, gives it to Bobby, and then Bobby and Big E, WrestleMania.
I will tell you this: I don't see Bobby Lashley being the one that gets submitted or pinned. I don't see him being the one that's going to be the decision for the victor. I just don't see it. If Bobby loses, Bobby's not going to be involved in the submission or the pinfall. That's just my opinion. I think you're on it. I don't think it's going to happen.
On January 4th, New Year's Evil, NXT's second edition of that. We're going to have a unification match. We were talking before about, the Cruiserweight belt essentially maybe going away. Well, in this sense, it looks like it might, as one of the matches that's been announced for New Year's Evil. Roderick Strong, the Cruiserweight champion and last remaining member of Undisputed Era in NXT that hasn't made his way over to AEW, taking on Carmelo Hayes.
I think he just signed a new deal.
Oh, well. So
I think
he's going to be hanging out by himself over here while his friends are in
He's still got the Diamond Mine, so. I mean, it's different. I know it's not undisputed, but it's the Diamond Mine. He's still the leader of that.
But he's a Cruiserweight champion. He takes on Carmelo Hayes, who's the North American champion, which many believe, which has been a championship that's been around for a couple of years now. One of the better looking championship belts in WWE.
Do they just unify and just make it the North American championship?
You'd have to do that.
I think so. I think it's a great title. The name of it's great. The look of it's great. You really don't need the Cruiserweight championship. And I do think in this match between Carmelo and Strong, I think that could be the match of the night.
I think this is an official
that's
nail in the coffin on the show 205 Live.
That's pay-per-view right there. I mean, that's box office between Carmelo and Roderick. I mean, they're both technicians in the ring. They're just fantastic competitors. I do think Carmelo Hayes wins.
Mandy Rose, Raquel Gonzalez, and Cora Jade, a triple threat for the NXT Women's Championship.
You already know where I'm going.
You're going Raquel Gonzalez.
Of course,
that belt back.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we're just gonna. You can blow past that because Raquel Gonzalez.
And as of right now, the only other match announced: the Braun Breaker versus Tommaso Ciampa for the NXT Championship.
That's gonna be a good one. I think the torch is getting passed to Braun. I think Braun Breaker, part of the Breaker family. I think he pulls it out for the family.
Shouldn't be bad ratings for NXT, but thankfully they're going on January 4th for New Year's Evil because it's already been announced that January 5th, the first night of AEW on TBS.
Yeah,
the rematch: Hangman Page, Bryan Danielson,
60 minutes, judges, the whole 9 freaking yards. It's going to be interesting how that's going to play out. And again, Tony Khan, another interesting concept. So we'll see how this goes.
Do you see a clean finish this time around? And do you see Bryan Danielson leaving with the belt? Or
nope, I still see Hangman.
Still see Hangman Page winning.
Hangman to me is gonna. I think he's gonna be a long-term
January
champion.
4th and January 5th, NXT and AEW. Imagine if they were going back to back, or thank goodness they're not, I guess. But
yeah, that's gonna be
that would be interesting right there.
It's gonna be a lot of good wrestling coming up here.
AEW to win. Because AEW was winning before.
Yeah, AEW will. I mean, I do like what NXT is doing, but I think it's like comparing apples to oranges, and I just think AEW is the better of those two at this point.
A quick look at something that, because of the world of AEW and things we forget about often, and because we forget that we'll be having a show or no show until this event takes place, but The event, essentially, they gave WrestleMania the idea to go 2 nights because they did a while ago, and now they're going 3 nights. New Japan Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 16 is happening on January 4th. This will be the 31st January 4th Tokyo Dome show. That's the tradition right there. Even though it's Wrestle Kingdom 16, the tradition is having a show on January the 4th. At the Tokyo Dome. That's a long tradition. It's hard to get into.
So it's weird, though. It's January 4th, 5th, and 8th. So it's not back-to-back.
Yes. And you know what's kind of silly about all this is they're claiming it to be 3 nights, but it still really isn't 3 nights. Because before, if you remember, Wrestle Kingdom, even when it was 2 nights or when it was 1 night, they did the similar thing to the Raw after. They had the Wrestle Kingdom, which would be January 4th, or in other cases, January 4th and 5th.
Yep.
And then they had the night after at Korakuen Hall, which was like their Raw after. It was like if you were to take the trip out to go see Wrestle Kingdom, you go to Wrestle Kingdom, then you go to the Korakuen Hall show the next night, which is essentially their Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. So if you look at this card, though, they're going to be on January 8th at Yokohama Arena in Yokohama, Japan. And what's nice is, I guess I actually enjoy, is that the 3rd night looks like not a Wrestle Kingdom card, meaning there are no championships on the line, which essentially means, if you look at the card, yes, it's not really a 3-night Wrestle Kingdom. It's a 2-night Wrestle Kingdom.
The third one's
kind of night
like
is like a smorgasbord of tag team matches.
Yeah, it's like the Raw after WrestleMania.
Yes. It's weird that the matches have already been announced, and like a Raw after, you wouldn't know the matches. I mean, that's kind of the gimmick.
In essence, it's just going to be a really good, almost like their All-Star show.
Yes. So the good news is, if you're more of a purist like myself and you're saying, well, we're moving to 3 nights here, the good news is they're not really moving to 3 nights. They're really just doing 2 nights and then having a 3rd show. But again, I don't know how this goes back to 2020, and how do we call this WrestleMania when it's not WrestleMania and has no of the elements of WrestleMania? So how are you calling this night 3 of Wrestle Kingdom? What makes it Wrestle Kingdom?
I don't know either. To me, it's odd.
I mean, you can't just, when New Japan Wrestling comes, if New Japan Wrestling comes to Syracuse, New York, and puts on a show on July 30th in the middle of the summer, at one of our arenas, we don't just call it Wrestle Kingdom Night 17, at Syracuse. These things have specific kind of meanings to them.
I think the way you're looking at it is right. It's a 2-night show with a 3rd night. Like, it's just kind of like the 3rd night to me is kind of like in essence, like an all-star match. Or all-star card, I should say.
And really all you got to look at, if you're, a Western fan of New Japan Wrestling or Western fan of professional wrestling, is simple. And that is the championship match on night number 1, Shingo Takagi, who was the champion and pretty much the only stable champion all through this year, because it was Will Ospreay who beat Okada for the belt last year at Wrestle Kingdom. Yep. Okada's obviously a name we all know very well here in the Western Hemisphere.
Of course.
And Will Ospreay is somebody who we know as well. He's been making his name in New Japan. He's out of Britain. He's been doing great the last couple of years. When the AEW thing came around, he was kind of him and Jay White were kind of some of the last remaining people in New Japan Wrestling. So Will Ospreay got the championship belt, but then suffered an injury. So then, this guy, Shingo, took the championship belt and has had it the most part of the year. So this is kind of a way we're going to write things out. We're going to have Shingo Takagi versus Okada for night number 1 for the championship, and then Will Ospreay, who
takes on the winner
the next night. Some other matches of interest.
I see Kenta. You see Kenta in there.
Kenta versus Tanahashi. That's on night number 2, a no disqualification match for the United States Heavyweight Championship. Tanahashi is going to fight on night number 1 for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, pardon my Americanness. Takahashi is going to fight for the Junior Heavyweight Championship on night 1. Tanahashi on night 2. And now you know why New Japan Wrestling isn't going to take over WWE's spot in America anytime soon.
Yeah, but it's still good shows.
No, it's still good shows.
I'll still check some of the highlights out on it.
Yes, I mean, definitely I would say there is a good 3 nights on each show, which is kind of annoying because, again, this is the idea of 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom. You could have made this 1 night of really good wrestling. I'm not saying that both nights aren't going to be great wrestling. New Japan's going to tear the house down when it comes to wrestling. There's no doubt about that. But when it comes to Western interest and names that you kind of recognize,
it's not going to be there.
Yes, it's going to be tough
but
to watch.
The purists are going to love it.
2 nights of this is going to be tough. one night of this back in the day, because I remember the Wrestle Kingdom 14s and the 13s, if you remember when we were watching Jericho versus Okada in the main event. And you had me from start to finish for that whole event. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because you had the name of Jericho.
Well, I mean, and plus, because it's one event, you had, the Okadas as the undercard to the Jericho. You know what I mean? You had... Now with it being 2 nights and really spread out,
but I know
there's a good 6 or 7 matches on this card.
I think we know
that I
what
want to watch. The problem is there's 18
We know what
matches.
Dave Meltzer's going to be doing on these days. Watching every single.
He's going to be up at 2:00 in the morning watching all of this live.
He's going to love it live. He's going to watch night 2, and then a few days later he's going to watch night 3. And tell us it's the greatest matches he's ever seen.
I'm just saying, from a Western perspective, that if Americanized perspective, if you made this a 6-match card, I'm watching all 6 matches. The problem is it's an 18-match card spread out over 2 nights.
They just have so much talent over there, though. They really do. Japan's got a lot of There's a lot of potential to American. Bring some of that over to America. There's so much talent there. It's insane. Some of the names you see on there, like the Okadas of the world. And we've obviously. The whole Kenta's run in WWE was not great, unfortunately, but Kenta did the right thing. He went back home where he can be a star in Japan.
Yeah,
it's a smart move.
And Will Ospreay again still doing his thing. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what Jay White's been doing the last little bit. Remember, he made that little Impact debut. I think he'd be best served to head back to Japan.
It'd be way better than Impact. If you're gonna leave Japan. You're going to AEW or WWE at this point. Why the hell would you go to Impact? And
some good news for those Ring of Honor fans. We saw this at We saw a GCW announcement recently, and good news is that Jonathan Gresham, who won the championship belt at their last pay-per-view, no better way to keep the belt alive, but he's going to be defending the belt against Chris Sabin at the next Impact pay-per-view, and I think that's a good call for Ring of Honor and for all the other companies to kind of help keep the Ring of Honor belt alive during their hiatus.
Yeah,
have it being like a floating belt.
Yeah, I think it's smart. It keeps people recognizing, like, oh yeah, Ring of Honor. Okay, we're all right. We're waiting for them to come back. Kind of a thing.
It's kind of funny that and it builds up these other shows. It kind of reminds me of, if I know you might not remember this, but 2CW, they did this, and again, WWE probably won't ever let them get away with anything like this.
No,
but
they won't.
2CW had 2 shows. When early in their days, I think this is like 06, 07. It was when I was doing the Ring Crew stuff, in which they had them defend the Impact Championship on the 2CW shows. Now, we knew it was house show style, that the belts weren't going to change hands because, it's a TV, it's an Impact. It was the NWA Championship at that time. It was when it was both the NWA Championship, which was very prestigious, which is probably more prestigious than just the Impact one because it carried all the lineage, but also was the current Impact champion. So it was Abyss versus Spike Dudley in back-to-back nights on Syracuse and in Rochester with that belt on the line. And no better way to draw attention to an indie show than telling us, hey, that Abyss you guy he's defending that television champion.
You know what would make it better, especially if you're doing a show in Syracuse and a show in Rochester? I think
you lose the belt one night and then get it back the next.
Yep.
They used to do that all the time in That's WWE's hardcore championship staple.
Yes.
If you remember in the early 2000s, they'd put the hardcore belt on the line at house shows, and somebody would lose it to start the night, but before the night got over, they would get the belt back. So on television, you never knew the difference. But at the house show, you thought you saw a title change.
You're like, oh, title change, yep, we're good.
Yeah.
No, that's what I would have done. Like if you have it like that, where it's Syracuse, Rochester, or something like that, where some of the fans are going to be seeing both shows. I think you drop the title the night 1, night 2, you get it back.
You probably wouldn't have gotten the permission from Impact to be able to do that. I guess that's the issue.
I mean, maybe you could, because it helps. I think it helps get maybe more. Because
I don't think Impact was seeing any money from this. This wasn't like one of those Impact presents.
I mean, if they made a deal on contract that says, okay, they can drop the belt tonight, but they have to put the belt back on tomorrow night, you could probably get something done.
I mean, the fact that Impact's letting their champion wrestle. I mean, risking injury and doing all this stuff shows that they're...
Well, why not take it the extra mile and make it even better?
Well, if it had something, if it gave something for Impact...
I don't see why not. I mean?
But, and I say that because, this Ring of Honor belt, that could definitely bring some cachet to some indie shows before they get back. The Northeast Championship Wrestling.
100%. I mean, we were talking about it last week. The talent pool, especially because of Ring of Honor and obviously WWE releases, there's so much... excellent wrestlers that are just kind of floating out there these days that could be coming to your local VFW near you soon.
And with him being the champion, though, what I'm saying is like,
That's
you know,
even
like
better.
the Excite Championship Wrestling show that's happening in New Year's around here locally. You know, there's Northeast Championship Wrestling. There's Real Canadian Champion. There's all, you know, there's Pennsylvania. No better way to headline your card than the Ring of Honor World Championship to be defended at Pennsylvania Professional Wrestling's event. Or whatever.
And that's
or GCW. He's going to be defending it at the GCW event. He's going to be defending it at Impact. No better, you know, Impact is going to have their championship on the line and Ring of Honor.
Ring of Honor is doing the right thing.
Yeah, letting the belt go all over the place.
Let it travel. Keep the Ring of Honor, name out there, so when they're ready to come back, they're not forgotten.
Yeah. So as we kind of close on what has happened in the world of wrestling, we now look back on 2021 as a whole. Give us some of our best and or I guess our favorites, because they don't always have to be best, because who are we to decide what's best? We're going to just tell you what we like the most.
What? We can tell people what we think is the best. I mean,
well, I'm just going to tell you what I think is my favorite. And the reason I say that is because there's a few picks that we talked about our best of this year that I think are more or less stuff I like for maybe sentimental reasons or something like that.
So, okay, so just to get it right, are we going to go best male, best female, best match, top feud, best pay-per-view? Is that what we're going to do?
Yeah.
How you want to do it? Which order?
I'm going to do the best feud. I'm going to start with Edge and Seth Rollins was my feud of the year.
Okay. I will not disagree. That was definitely in my top 5. I think that is a very solid pick. I have to go with, especially the way the blow-off happened, I got to go Hangman and Kenny. I think just the way that blow off happened. It's been so long. We've been watching Hangman just kind of the pursuit of that championship and the way Kenny Omega and him just clicked for so long, and then the blow off where Adam Page gets that moment where he gets the victory. That to me, that just makes it so much fun. And that to me, that's why it is the top feud of 2021.
I mean, that's a good choice too. You know, it's too bad that 2020 had the Jericho MJF feud. I think that was obviously the best feud of 2020, without a doubt.
110%. I mean, MJF, anything that MJF does at this point it turns to gold.
So we're going to talk best pay-per-view. I know it's easy to say an AEW pay-per-view, and I can see you already you got an AEW pay-per-view.
I do.
And this is why I say not the best. This is why I say favorite, because my pick is actually going to be a sentimental one. And it's weird because I went to the WrestleMania, I went to SummerSlam, and I went to Survivor Series, but none of those are it. And it's a WWE pay-per-view.
So what is it?
It's Money in the Bank.
I had a feeling. Yeah.
The reason I'm picking Money in the Bank is because of just the feeling that when Money in the Bank, I mean, it felt like a big pay-per-view, not just because, as we've learned, Money in the Bank is going to be their next Big 5 pay-per-view. It's going to be at Allegiant Stadium next year, the whole 9 yards. But from a watching it on television perspective, it really felt like one of those kind of like, I feel like I kind of wanted to travel for this one because we had been so long without fans.
True.
It was only the second night that we had fans. SmackDown 2 nights earlier had fans. And just having big pay-per-view / it's the first time we've had a full audience, not counting WrestleMania, which was 2 nights, half crowd, that whole thing. But, it just, the official return to normalcy. Obviously, AEW, they had 5,000 fans, throughout 2021 at different shows and pay-per-views. But from a WWE perspective, to turn on the TV, to see an arena full of fans for a pay-per-view on a Sunday night.
That's not bad.
It was just, and it was a good event. I mean, with Big E winning the Money in the Bank, with the match between Roman Reigns and Edge being a great match, and John Cena making his return there at the end, the big, it wasn't so much a surprise, but still a surprise because you never know when it's actually going to happen.
Plus, you never know it with Cena too.
Yes. So for him to actually be there, the music to hit, it was just one of those. We talked about this, and I think we talked about it when it happened. Like, you got those goosebumps again. You're like, this is why we like this show. This is why we do this podcast. It's because it's not the Thunderdome stuff. This is it.
See, that, I mean, I agree with that last part. But that's why I have to pick Full Gear of this year. Full Gear. I mean, I'm not even going to go through the card. You guys know the card. Every single match, including the top feud, the blow-off for the top feud, was the main event there. But just every match meant something. Every match was just really good. To me, it was, and that was one of the few moments of the year for me as a fan where I didn't want to move, and I didn't even want to get up and get a drink kind of a deal because I didn't want to miss anything. Every match on that card from top to bottom was the best show of the year for me.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are picking All Out as a good. I mean, All Out was a good show. I mean, that was big. That was big. CM Punk's debut in the wrestling ring.
It was All Out. That was the Lucha Bros and Young Bucks, right? That was one of the better matches of the year too.
Yes,
if I'm not mistaken.
And obviously had CM Punk's return to the wrestling ring. You know,
I mean, there's no. I mean,
Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole both made their debuts that night.
Here's the thing. There's no really any wrong answer here. It's just how we feel and what those shows made us, how they made us feel. And I mean, AEW right now has been putting on the best pay-per-views, I think.
I mean, there's no doubt about that they've been putting on the best pay-per-views. You got to say, though, and I talked about this beforehand.
We agree on this.
You got to say, Crown Jewel, I mean, it's getting some love.
That was a shocker. Here's the thing, and we talked about it when pre-Crown Jewel, post-Crown Jewel. We didn't set the bar high pre-Crown Jewel, but when we came in,
you didn't set the bar high. I didn't set it low.
Whoa! You weren't that enthusiastic. I know I was way worse than you. 100%. I was very skeptical.
Yes.
But we both came in the next show to record after Crown Jewel, and we're like, that was a good show.
Yeah.
And according to these lists here, it's in the top 5 of this particular site's best pay-per-views of the year. So if you want to go with a shocking pay-per-view that out of nowhere was good, that'd be the one.
Your best female performer of the year.
Oh, I got to go with Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is just everything she's done this year. Every match she's pulling out something that not a lot of females, I mean males too, can do. She does everything you want. She cuts a good promo. She just the way her presence in the ring is, her ring work is good. She's a total package.
See, I thought that was an easy one to pick, except for the fact of how she's essentially been treated post SummerSlam.
See, here's the thing. Even with what she has been dealing with, post summer, she's still doing great work in the ring. So I regardless, I know the storylines maybe haven't been good with Dewdrop and whatnot, but let's be honest, I haven't seen a bad Bianca Belair match.
I am going to pick a dark horse here. And somebody you were talking about who also has been having a bad run as of late, but I'm going with Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley held the belt. I got it right here. 97 days following her win over Asuka at WrestleMania. Okay. So she was Raw Women's Champion for 97 days this year. And with Nikki ASH, overall WWE Tag Team Women's Champions for 63 days. So for 97 days plus 63 days, what's that? A good 160 days this year she spent as a champion.
Yeah, like a half a year. Okay.
So she spent 160 days this year as a champion.
But how much value is in that women's tag team championship?
I'm not saying there's a lot, no.
Unfortunately. I'm not saying that to disparage.
The fact that
I'm just saying it's not that great of a title.
And if that was all she had, then clearly no. I mean, that's why Nikki ASH, even though she was tag team champion and for about a week, also Raw Women's Champion.
There's your other feel-good moment.
Yes. She is not my woman of the year, but Rhea Ripley, I thought she had a great performance at WrestleMania, beating Asuka, ending her very long reign, and well, hopefully we see Asuka sometime again. Completely fallen off the page. There's a Royal Rumble surprise return dark horse winner you could have right there.
Let me ask you, so where do you want to go here? Do you want to finish with male wrestler, or do you want to finish with best match?
Let's do male wrestler of the year.
This one was a piece of cake for me. This is Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns has been the best in the business. Doesn't matter if you're an AEW, WWE fan, or both like we are. Everything he has done, I've been intrigued. It doesn't matter if it's a segment, what is a backstage segment, promo in the ring, his in-ring stuff. Everything he's involved in has been absolutely fantastic. He makes people actually want to watch SmackDown. And literally there's some times where I literally will watch the beginning to see what Roman Reigns is doing, and I will check in before the end of the night to see how he finishes the night, because that's how damn good Roman Reigns right now. Roman Reigns is on a different level than anybody else right now.
You can't disagree with any of that. But do you remember when Charles Barkley and Karl Malone won the NBA MVP awards, despite the fact that Michael Jordan was in the league both of those years and won the NBA championship both those years?
Who are you calling Michael Jordan?
Well, I'm saying like Roman Reigns is clearly the winner here. But in those years that Charles Barkley won the MVP award and Karl Malone won the MVP award, it was because we can't just give the award to the same person every single year. So I'm not discounting your Roman Reigns because he clearly essentially would be the winner.
So who you
but
picking
just
then?
to be different.
Yeah, who you picking?
Because that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because Roman Reigns is such a clear, easy answer.
Oh, what are you going with, Kenny Omega?
No.
Okay.
I mean, that would be, I'm not that kind
What
of
is
guy.
that,
Come on.
1A?
No.
For a lot of people?
I am going with somebody who had a great year, who had an MVP year, but unfortunately Roman Reigns is just, he's so far above everybody else, you got to kind of see like, well, what's second best, I guess. So this is why I'm going to pick my male wrestler of the year, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
Because you got to look at what he has done.
Oh, so you did pick the B+ player this year. That's cool. All right.
Because this is a guy who main evented WrestleMania.
Sure.
And has been put on essentially the AEW match of the year all in the same year. I mean, again,
I'm not going to argue.
you're not going to get many more years. I mean, maybe we do. Maybe we do. Where you have somebody who main evented WrestleMania. Clearly, what many people would even argue is one of the best wrestling matches of the year, the Triple Threat main event. It wasn't just the main event, but it was one of the best WWE matches of the year. So essentially, if you had a top 10 list of your favorite matches of the year, you would probably have 2 Bryan Danielson matches on there from 2 different companies.
So I'll be honest with you. I'm spoiled as a Bryan Danielson fan because does he ever have a bad match?
Well, no. But I think the fact that he did it over 2 different companies.
That is cool.
And that
I'll give you that. But Roman Reigns has changed the game.
Well, yeah, no, that's why I can't deny Roman Reigns. I just thought, we're not just going to come out here and give you the easy answers. What's the pay-per-view of the year? WrestleMania.
And here's the
What's
thing.
the wrestle of the year? Roman Reigns. We got to be a little different.
I'm gonna be honest with you. My on my piece of paper here, what does 1A say here on my piece of paper? What is that?
Hangman Adam Page.
That's who I had as my 1A. That's how high I am on Hangman Adam Page. I just think he's the best thing in AEW right now. And I'm not even saying that even before he was champion. I just like the way his gimmick. I love the way he cuts promos, the way he's in the ring. Just everything Hangman does. WWE might want to try to write a big check for him because that dude he's going to be a main attraction for a long time. Now, we got to finish off with the best match of the year, so I'm going to let you start.
My best match, I think, again, I'm going from a favorite perspective. Because I know the AEWs of the world are going to always top this stuff.
Sure.
But John Cena, Roman Reigns, SummerSlam, my favorite match of the year.
Wow.
Just because.
A John Cena match, huh? Wow.
I mean, probably one of John Cena's better matches.
No argument there.
And I will say I was in attendance, and one thing that I enjoyed about whether you watch it on TV or you're in attendance, it gave you probably, other than probably the only WWE to do this year. AEW probably did this a few times, but only the time watching WWE in which you went 1, 2, and then when they kicked out, you were in surprise. When John Cena did the FU off the top rope, I said, John Cena's your new champion. This is over. This is the greatest John Cena move I've ever seen. You're not going to show me the best John Cena.
And
You're not going to, and then still kick out.
2 7/8.
Yes. So, I mean,
I'll give you I would probably say that's probably the best WWE match, in my opinion. I agree.
Yeah.
And
it felt like a WrestleMania. I mean, the WrestleMania main event was really good.
I have to disagree, though.
But I have to say this at a WrestleMania build-up. That's why it's not my best so much. It's my favorite. It felt like the WrestleMania match. SummerSlam this year, we all know, was treated as if it was WrestleMania. And then the main event was built up like that.
I'm just going to say best. So best match. Best. I think.
You're going to pick the one from a week ago?
I am. Here's the thing.
It's hard to argue.
I was critical of the finish, but there's a bigger picture that Tony Khan is doing. So when you see the total bigger picture and you see what they're doing next, where they're going to have another match, 60 minutes, but this time they're going to add judges. It's a new thing. It's cool to see. So I was I wasn't critical, super critical last week of this match. I just didn't like the finish. I wish they would have done something there. But after I see what they're doing now and leading up to the next matchup between Paige and Danielson, it's to me that was the best match here. I was watching every single 60 minutes of that.
Yeah.
That was from bell to bell, minus the commercials. I mean, from bell to bell, it was the best match of the year for me, hands down.
Well, we will see who wins the second match in that series, and we'll talk all about it. Next time we're on the air, we're going to have that match behind us. New Year's Evil, Wrestle Kingdom, Day 1. And
lots to catch up
a lot to catch up on by the next time we talk to you. For Brandon, I'm Jared. Have a good Christmas, a happy New Year.
Yeah, see you next year.
We can say it. We'll see you next year for the Heel to Face podcast. Make sure you're following us on Twitter, and we'll see you in 2022.